Hi there, folks. Thanks again for tuning in. Sorry about the sound on the video last night. I don't know what happened because mine was very clear, very loud, because my sound is always okay. I don't have a problem with that, never. I don't know what happened. It seems to be inbuilt in the some of the news clips that when you copy them, the sound just goes down really. I turned it up, I tried everything, and then I did get it okay. And then it went again when I uploaded it to YouTube. Straight away, before it was on private, because I hadn't even filled in the narrative or anything, straight away I got a copyright strike from CBS about the 60 Minutes one, start to finish, every second. So I had to cut that out. I was going to put something else in, but they're just so tight, aren't they? You're passing on the news, should be good for them. Mind you, it has got over 5 million or 3 million, one of them, I can't remember, on its own channel and the last couple of days only, so it is quite good. I put the link, have a little watch. No, we don't trust the news, but it's worth following, isn't it, to see what they're going to say. Now, I notice everything that they've said in these clips that I've showed are things that I've said in my videos over and over again. You know, they defy gravity. I've always said they're definitely not ours. I know they're not ours. So now they're thinking it could be Chinese, could be the Russians, and the Russians are thinking the same. It could be the Americans. Well, they're all over the place. We're in England, and I've said as well the last, say, 4 years, it's become really, really busy with so many. I've never caught so many before that they seem to be here all the time in the pictures and the film that I take. Looking at their footage as well, a lot of NASA footage, a lot of mine is actually better. And, you know, people say to me, oh, it's only a dot, it's so blurred, it's this, it's that. But looking at what's out there and evidence that they're putting forward, a lot of mine are actually better. I've got so much now. And as I said before, when I post a video and say, you know, this is an unknown object, it means I've filmed it several times. I've got various clips of it and seen it in action. And, you know, the Air Force is saying the same. It proves to me that they've observed these things over a long period because they know exactly what I know. You know, from observing, you can see what they can do. And I don't think they're communicating with them either, to be honest. Doing this little video here with an object that I caught. It was dated 2017, and that was around the same time I caught all the other UFOs out there. It was around the same few days. Now this is one of the objects that seems alive, like on the NASA footage, the tether incident. They've come down low now. I knew these were different to the normal UFOs, but I think they're connected with them as well, because I get silver ones with them and black ones with them, if that makes sense. So it's not two different races completely. It could be, I don't know, maybe there's quite a few races here. We don't know anymore, do we? But now that the government have accepted their presence and admitted it, it's there's a lot more to come, I'm sure, because I've seen the difference over the years. And the thoughts did go in my mind, are there two different races? Are they coming to me? Both of them? It just seems too illogical to me and too, I don't know, too fantastical. So I have to connect them all with the same, that they own all of these craft, the same race, own everything that we're seeing, and some of them are alive. Well, they seem alive. So this one, as I said, I was out in the garden and I've been taking pictures, and I just saw this, it was just a white circle. It just seemed odd. It was like a white circle, not a bit of cloud or anything, definite circle. And I thought, well, that's a pure circle. It's about the size of a football, I'd say. And it was down quite low. And I just thought, it took my eye off for a minute. I thought it would drift away or whatever. And then I got back to it and it was still there. And somehow it got me to stare at it, because I just could not take my eyes off this thing. So I started watching it. My camera was there. I tried to film it. and the camera wasn't picking it up, and it looks like a lens flare anyway on the camera. So I wanted to see what it was doing with my eyes. So I was watching it as well as taking snaps. The video is no good, so I decided to just take a few pictures. But I was watching it with my eyes most of the time. It was there for about 5 minutes. First of all, it was just a circle, a white circle, and then it went translucent like a bubble. I could see through it, and there was these amazing colours, pink, blue. It was lovely. It was like a bubble, and when the sun shines on it, you see all those lovely colours. And it was sort of, I felt it was staring at me, and I was staring back. You know, and I did feel like it was trying to communicate somehow. 'Cause I just could not take my eyes up, and then it started moving around the sky like a slinky. Definitely got my attention, definitely wanted me to see it and wanted me to watch it. I felt that strongly. And I got a few pictures, and this is what it is in the pictures. It was just like a see-through bubble slinky moving around and back and forth, and it mesmerized me, and I was like, oh my god. And the pictures don't do it justice to what I'm saying, but I did get some pictures to actually prove to myself you didn't imagine it. Most of the time these pictures are for myself, so I've got dates as well, and when I saw something and what it was, and just keeping, so it doesn't matter to me whether the footage is brilliant, whether it's bad. It proves to me there's something there on the day I saw it, and it's correlation for me. You know, that's really mainly why I take the footage. And not that I want to go out there, put it out there and go viral on all newses and all that. The way things go viral or go on the news, a lot of the time you have to call them yourself. If I call the Daily Mail tomorrow and say, look, I've got some pictures, do you want to put them in the paper? I'll do a little story. We'll do a little quick interview on the phone, and it'll be in the paper in a couple of days. I've done that a few times. They don't pick them up, a lot of them up online. You have to actually call them yourself, and they may do a little story, or they may not. So it gives the impression, oh, it must be genuine, it's on the news, or these people made the news. You call them yourself. A lot of these people call the newspapers themselves. I did a couple of times, and put the story in. So that's that for now, but I just thought I'd do the video for this because as it's a one-off, it never happened before, and I did get some pictures. And then as I watched it for a few minutes, and then it just buzzed off like phew, and left this lovely trail and then disappeared. A small trail, it wasn't big, and disappeared. And as you can see in the picture, the sky is completely clear. There was nothing else there. That's how it caught my attention. There was nothing else there. It was lovely blue, and this thing was on its own. And I saw it with my naked eye, not through the camera. So it can't be put down to lens flare or anything like that. I was watching it, and it was aware of me, and I was aware that it was aware. But it was a lovely experience anyway. So that's why I don't think these things are evil or hostile. I get lovely feelings of them when there's a presence like that, to be honest. Very loving and peaceful. Lovely. Unless they're all being deceptive and they're deceiving me, I can't see the point of that either. People say, oh, beware, they could be evil, trying to get you over on their side. So what if they want to get me over on their side? What's the point of that? Why would they be trying to get me over on their side by deceiving me? That doesn't make sense. Come on. I have to take things at face value, and I believe these more than I believe the cuckoos, crackpots, and these stupid conspiracy theories that pretend they know everything, and they absolutely know nothing. They absolutely know nothing. It's all been lies. Hopefully now, with some of the disclosure starting, all these liars will be thrown out on their ears. And I've been saying this is going to happen, and it's happening slowly. There's going to be even more exposed. Everyone's been exposed who's been telling lies. All these idiots who've been taking your money, feeding you bullshit, giving you all these fake beliefs to build your life on. They're all going to be found out to be lies. I've been saying this. Everyone's going to be exposed. And it's been happening and happening and happening, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. There's nowhere for them to hide anymore. I've been giving people truth from day one. Everything I've been saying is absolutely true. Every piece of evidence I've put out there, absolutely 100% bona fide, raw. straight from my camera, nothing added, nothing edited. And I'm one of the very few people that actually do that, I think. And what I've been saying from day one has been absolutely true, and now it's coming out. That they're even repeating things word for word that I've said. Look back at my videos and you'll hear it. In all my videos, I'm saying exactly the same as the Air Force and the government is saying now, only I've been saying it years ahead, in advance. Hate saying I told you also. Thanks very much for tuning in. I'll stick in a couple of clips for entertainment value. As we're on the UFO subject. What was I going to say? I'm working on a few things. Got a few things, UFO stuff that I'm working on myself as well. And that's it for now. Bye for now. Oh yeah, I thought I'd stick that little picture in of Nick Pope. Me standing behind him. Oh, very small, you know, tiny little man.
We're about 150 or 200 yards from the site. Everything else is just deathly calm. There is no doubt about it, and we're seeing strange lights in the sky. It appears to be maybe moving a little bit this way. Yes, it's probably not has been. It's coming this way. It is definitely coming this way. Pieces of it are shooting off. There is no doubt about it. This is weird. What is it? We don't know, sir.
We're standing there in awe, and all of a sudden, a beam came down right to the side of us. And I'm thinking, is this a warning? Is this communication? What is this, you know? What do we do now?
There was something which he and his navigator saw, and his voice is quite shaky. He said, I don't know what it was, but on radar it was climbing like the clappers.
These witnesses saw something real and solid. These are military witnesses, and these people, when they make a report like this and say, this is highly unusual, you can take that to the bank.
Inside the British Ministry of Defence, Nick Pope was cleared to read Britain's most closely held state secrets. As he was to discover, the ministry was sitting on its very own X-Files. In the early 90s, this former deputy director of the MOD was pulled aside to investigate the threat to British national security posed by UFOs. When you were asked to do it, did they sort of come up with a bit of a wry smile and say, I've got something for you, old boy?
I was effectively headhunted into that job. I was broadly sceptical. I certainly went in there having no expectation of finding little green men.
What Nick Pope found in those secret files was intriguing, but one incident left him questioning for the first time whether the truth really is out there.
The turning point was the Cosford incident. It was this point midway through my tour of duty where I came in one morning and the phones were ringing off the hook, and gradually throughout that day I put together this story of this amazing series of sightings that had occurred over a period of 6 hours.
On the night of 30th of March 1993, across southern England, reports flooded in of strange lights moving in a northeasterly course. They formed the outline of a massive black triangle. The most dramatic sighting that night was here around the Royal Air Force's Shawbury base in Shropshire. Multiple witnesses independently reported seeing not just lights, but a clearly structured black triangular craft which moved slowly overhead and then accelerated off to the horizon at impossible speeds. Now, the fact of this sighting is clearly recorded in the newly released Ministry of Defence files. But even more interesting, the investigators from the Defence Department were unable to explain that mystery, even to this day. Of all the accounts, the most compelling was filed by the on-duty meteorological officer at a nearby base.
He saw it initially move slowly towards the base, and he said it's very slow speed, maybe 30 or 40 miles an hour. And then he heard this low-frequency humming sound, which he said was quite unpleasant, rather like standing in front of a bass speaker. He said he could feel the sound as well as hear it. He saw this narrow beam of light firing down from the craft, and from this very slow speed, the UFO accelerated away to the horizon in seconds. And he described this to me as many times faster than a military jet aircraft.
And this is a credible military witness?
This is an Air Force officer with 8 years service.
And you believed it?
Absolutely.
Just there, it was moving in a northern direction, in the direction of RAF Shawbury. It was moving very, very slowly. The white light at the front, it was very erratic, emitting the light. And it was as if it was searching for something very, very slowly. And then I stood there for at least 2 or 3 minutes and watched it just move so slowly. And then all of a sudden, it just went off, just shot off, gone, boom.
This is the first time Darren Perks has publicly spoken about what he saw that night. In 1993, he was an Air Force cadet. His description matches exactly the one given by the RAF Met officer.
Craft. It was defined against the sky. The sky was clear. The stars were right. This blocked out the stars. It was black, solid, triangular.
Neither myself nor my superiors at the MOD have any conventional explanation for what was seen. To this day, it's completely unexplained.
The British Ministry of Defence investigators even approached their American counterparts here in Washington, D.C. to ask them whether the US was doing any secret test flights in British airspace that might explain the spate of weird UFO sightings. The answer they got back from the Americans was even more intriguing.
They gave us absolutely cast iron assurances that there was no such craft.
Let's say it was of extraterrestrial origin. Why would ET fly billions of light years across the galaxy and park itself over a RAF base in England?
Speculatively speaking, if these things were alien, I guess their motives, it seems to me, would be scientific study.
But crucially, you concede it's a possibility that it was alien.
Forgive the politician's answer. I can't rule it out, but I guess in strictly logical terms, of course I can't.
Convinced now that there was something to the sightings, Nick Pope launched a cold case review of UFO activity over Britain dating back decades. And what he found was a surprising number of cases where the ministry had no rational explanation for what had been seen.
Well, this document here is pretty impressive. This is the Assistant Chief of the Air Staff being briefed on a UFO incident where an object was assessed as operating over the UK, completely unknown.
This was something which we had never seen before, we couldn't explain.
Alan Turner is long retired. But in 1971, he was wing commander in charge of an Air Force radar unit that went on high alert after multiple objects moving at impossible speeds and heights were tracked on his screens. Turner ordered a bomber pilot to try to intercept.
He admitted that there was something which he and his navigator saw, and his voice was quite shaky. He said, I don't know what it was, but on radar it was climbing like the clappers. We didn't see anything visually, but it was definitely in our radar.
Would you have spoken out about what you saw that night while you were with the RAF?
No.
Why not?
Professional integrity. I was told not to talk about it.
Colonel Charles Holt was also worried that revealing what he saw would kill his career.
It certainly wasn't career-enhancing. How am I ever going to explain this? Nobody will believe this.
It was 1980, and Holt was the US Deputy Base Commander at the Bentwaters RAF Base in England. He was a senior officer, almost certainly controlling nuclear weapons, one rank shy of general, with 20 years' experience in the Air Force.
The on-duty flight lieutenant from the Security Police Squadron came in white as a sheet. And he said, it's back. What's back? He said, the UFO is back. He said, we saw something out in the forest we can't explain.
The night before, 2 of Holt's men had reported seeing, and one of them said he'd even touched a UFO with strange markings on the side. This time, Holt decided to see for himself. He gathered a large number of soldiers and headed into Rendlesham Forest. They had radios, lights, and military Geiger counters.
Took those things along just to disprove all of this stuff. I looked up and looked through the forest toward the coast and saw a glowing object. I can best describe it as looking something like an eye with a black center. It's moving like this through the trees, going up and down, avoiding the trees.
You use the word there, avoiding the trees. You're under the clear impression that this object was intelligently moving?
Definitely is under some type of intelligent control.
Holt also took a small tape recorder.
There it is again. Watch. Throw the head off my flash right there. There it is. Hey, I see it too. What is it? We don't know, sir. So can I get some result? Yeah, it's a strange, small red light. Weird. It's coming this way.
Crucially, this is an incident that's witnessed by maybe a dozen people?
Probably a total of 30 or 40 people.
5 of the people involved on the first night actually made formal statements, witness statements. Now that would be a disciplinary offence if there was anything false in that.
Holt submitted his investigation to his superiors with its explosive conclusion that an unknown craft had been seen by dozens of military personnel near one of America's most sensitive foreign bases. His report was buried.
Do you believe that the US government or somebody in the US government knows more than they're letting on?
I suspect there's more than one agency that knows a lot more than what they're letting on.
I've met Charles Holt, and as far as I'm concerned, he's a very sincere and genuine and honest man. Just because he feels that he is certain about what he saw doesn't mean that there isn't any room for memory distortion or perceptual errors that were made at the time.
Professor Chris French is Professor of Psychology at the University of London and an arch UFO skeptic. How do you explain eyewitness testimony from credible witnesses? Well, no matter how convincing the account and how convinced witnesses are, he says the mind plays tricks. And the most powerful trick of all is that there is an overwhelming human desire to believe we are not alone.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'd love to believe. The idea that there is alien life out there, that we might make contact with it, that we might learn from it, is an incredibly exciting idea.
I looked up and saw this thing in the sky.
People very often will be influenced by what they think they might be seeing. And we have this very natural tendency to kind of fill in the gaps, both perceptually and in terms of memory.
There's no doubt in your mind, it's very real.
It is real. I know what I saw. I know what we saw.
From where you've been sitting, inside the Defence Department, you haven't seen any evidence of a massive conspiracy. They're saying what they're saying because they just don't know.
There is no spaceship in a hangar anywhere in the United Kingdom. There's not some great smoking gun that's going to blow this whole secret wide open. No, the bottom line is we don't have a clue what these things are. Take the Cosford incident. There is some evidence to suggest that an unidentified object or objects was operating over the United Kingdom. That's about as close as the MOD will ever get to saying, yeah, these things are real.